Hello, everybody. Today we're going to jump into our next little build strat here, and this one is an absolute treat. It might take my top of the league for my favorite thing to run. There's a lot of information to go over, so I'm going to go over one little piece at a time. Exactly how to set it up, showcase a map, boom, boom. The first little caveat I want to throw out is this strat is extremely difficult to do. Okay, if you don't have a well-built character, well-built towers, so on and so forth, it's going to be hard to do. This is going to be a blight strat, and it is going to be a strat using the blight scarab of blightheart, along with the titanic scarab of treasures, and wisps. So all of these scarabs really juice up the mobs on the map. Before we get into all those little details, I will start with the Atlas tree itself. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on this one just because I want to show how all the blight nodes were changed. We're basically going to ignore all this stuff. Okay, this is your normal default tree of scarabs, altars, map chance, extra scarabs, map effect, so on and so forth. Basically the same thing that you generically run on basically all of your atlases. And then we basically spec whatever we have left into the blight. Okay, now this league specifically, all the blight nodes were changed. So we have basically 3 wheels or 4 wheels that we're going to go over heavily. Although blight has a total of 6, we're only going to go into 4 of them. We're going to start down here. This is basically just going to give us a whole bunch of extra blight mobs. A lot more monsters, more uniques, they spawn faster, 2 reduced chance of building towers, which helps specifically for this node, which is completely changed. This lets you salvage your towers after. I will show it. This is going to be like a secondary objective to us. So I'll get more into that once we actually run the map and do it. For now, we'll just say that basically all your towers that you build afterwards, they turn into little salvage piles, and you basically click on them and they drop some items and some gold and stuff like that. The more different type of towers you have, the bigger those explosions are. So again, that's like our secondary objective. Our next wheel is the wheel up here, which is basically just a bunch of extra reward chests. Blight chance is lucky. The Scarab that we're running only gives us 1 blight chest, so it's not gives us 20% chance to open it again, which does work on the big blight chest. The blight chests are lucky. It just makes that 1 chest lucky every time because it's literally only 1 chest that you get. So that part you don't have to worry about. This is just blight chance, which we don't need because we roll it on the device. This wheel is very simply just makes monsters take more damage and then gives your pump more durability in case some monsters leak through. And then we have this one up here. This is for blight maps, which we don't actually do or go at all, so this wheel is not needed whatsoever. We clear the map first and do the blight after. And then this one basically just gives us some extra rewards. Blight bosses have chance to add an additional reward chest, which again doesn't really matter. But then the big one is this node, which is completely changed. It takes 1 lane in your map, which sometimes graphically doesn't even show. We'll get into that again once we get into the map. And it changes it all to the entire lane is all blight bosses. Okay, so basically all blight, you're adding a ton of extra mobs, they're spawning faster. 1 lane is all blight bosses, which can already be kind of meh to begin with, and then we're juicing it up with wisps, we're juicing it up with the titanic scarab, we're doing it with the titanic scarab of reward. Like there's extra toughness, extra damage. It's incredibly rippy if you do not have a good build to do it. Now the good part of this is the investment into the map is pretty low overall, okay? If you rip a map, you go through, you run it, you don't do it, it dies, you only get half the loot, like whatever, like you're not really losing anything. We also clear the map first, okay? So if you clear the map first, you get like a very decent amount of gold here. You get normal drops, you get whatever, so you're never going to lose money if you rip a map, okay? So at least the entrance fee to the map is low, okay? Try it out. If it doesn't work, then you can switch to something else. It does take a pretty beefy character with some decent investment in your gear to do it. Anyway, let's go to the next step, okay? For all blight things, the first thing you want to do is worry about the anoints on your rings, okay? Now, this is a Calandra's touch, so you cannot get a second anoint. It just anoints your other ring. So for the purpose of that, we're just going to do... This is actually the bad anoint. I tried out two. This was definitely the worst of the two, and I'll explain why. So for now, I need to re-anoint this one, and I want the one where the best anoint that you want. Okay? Now I'm going to pull it up on here, just to make sure I get the right oils for it, which I will have to buy. I can find my proper folder. I have a little thing like this showcased in it, okay? This is all the passive tree. This is what we want here. This is all the ring anoints that you can get. The one that you want is the chilling that stun, right here. Opal Silver. Your chilling towers freeze enemies. Now, there is a couple other anoints you can get. Most people will have two anoints. The Burning Ground Meteor one is also pretty good. The Chill Freeze. This is because you do... It's so hard to kill the mobs in the Blight map that you want to basically... The goal is to make sure everything is perma-stunned and perma-frozen, okay? This allows your chilling towers to basically perma-stun. So as long as you don't roll the mods on the map, sometimes you'll get like a lane that's immune to stun towers or something. This lets you build chilling towers to basically do as a backup, and everything will always be stunned. So you absolutely 100% want this anoint for the strat. Since I can only get one, this is the one you want. The other one doesn't really matter. You can get the burning effect meteor one, you can get a double damage one, you can get basically whatever you want. Increased, empowering, whatever. For the sake of this, we want Opal Silver, which we actually have, thanks to running this a couple times. And then I need a reflective because it's a mirrored ring, so I'm gonna have to buy one real quick. Chaos, reflective. Now, again, it's not super expensive, but I'm just gonna... I have to pull out some gold. Place the order. Buy it. I'm gonna redeposit my gold just because I want to show how much gold this gets, okay? So we have our anoints. Freeze. Chilling tower is basically stun. Anoint. Override it. Boom. This just copies that, so it doesn't like double the effect or double anything like that. It's the same anoint, so it doesn't really do anything. If it's like 25% increased damage or something like that, then it would be 25 both times. But we'll just ignore that part. If you don't have a Calandra's touch, it doesn't really matter. Okay. Now you need to pick your map. Okay. So for maps for Blight specifically, 8 mod maps are going to be better. And the reason why is the more quant you have, the more pack size, the more the explosion at the end is. And then the Blight chests themselves, I think, are like 20% of the map's quantity or something like that. So basically, you're gonna run 8 mod maps, which further makes this strat more difficult. But anyway, I have a whole bunch of beaches. Now there's 2 mods. We are going to use our handy dandy little regex here. There's 2 mods that you absolutely do not want to roll on these maps, okay? Let me pull this over real quick. There's a blank. This is the new one. I actually enjoy it way better than the old regex one. This one's just exile.re. It's very nice laid out, very nice copy. It has the more Scarabs maps currency right at the top, which the other one doesn't for T17, so on and so forth. Anyway, there's 2 mods that you don't want for your Blight maps, okay? The first one is stun. Monsters cannot be stunned. If you roll that, you're going to have to kill everything yourself. Your towers are not going to be able to slow them. It's not going to be able to stop them. You want to add that. The other one is... this one right here. Monsters cannot be taunted, and the action and movement speed cannot be modified to below base value. Okay? With this, monsters cannot be stunned or slowed. So you roll this on your map, you build your towers, and you watch all the monsters run through fucking everything and blow up your pump. You absolutely do not want that. Those 2 mods you don't want to roll. okay? Now, I've already sorted this tab a little bit anyway. You're simply going to copy this. You're going to paste it in, and all these maps over here have either monsters cannot be stunned or the, if I could find one, the monster's action speed and movement speed cannot be modified to below base value, okay? So those are all the maps I don't want to run. You can put these in another tab. You can put whatever. I just put them to the side because I can run other strats with these maps just fine. It's just the Blight strat specifically. And then all of these maps I can run. I'm running the Blight strat now, so I can use all these. It's perfectly fine, okay? So now you have your map. It's 8 mod. You're going to throw it in. We have the Titanic Scarab, which is going to give increased toughness for unique monsters, rarity and quant. So you're basically popping out Blight. You're putting a ton of extra mobs on the map, like a ton of extra mobs, and you're basically juicing those mobs up as much as you can to have the end explosion be a very significant, or hopefully incredibly significant explosion at the end. We have the Scarab of Treasures, which gives additional rewards, more additional toughness. We have 2 Scarab of the Wisps, which basically just wisp up a bunch of monsters in your map, which give more rarity, more quant, and more currency items dropped. However, it goes hand in hand with extra crit, extra attack speed, extra projectiles, so on and so forth. So basically, we're really juicing up the monsters. And then the Blightheart itself is a very unique Scarab. So it makes it so all the chests that normally drop in your Blights, there's only one chest, and it's right by the pump. You get one chest. The more monsters you kill, the more loot that chest has. Now, to be fair, I think that chest should scale a little bit better than it does. But the extra best part of the Scarab is that the Blight encounters in area spawn many more waves of enemies. So your Blight encounter is basically turning into one lane of bosses, multiple lanes of whatever, with a crap ton of monsters that are juiced up on them, okay? Which is why the strat's so hard to do. And you need a good character to do it. Because there's so many monsters, you want to try to stun and freeze and like everything you can. Luckily, we can build a lot of towers. Now, because of this, the strat for Blight now is to do a very open layout map, which is why I'm running beaches. Things like dunes are okay. City squares are okay. Things like Jungle Valley. You just want open maps where you can spawn many lanes. You do not want the super narrow maps like Toxic Sewer and things like that, okay? So we'll launch up a map. We add Blight to the map device because we have no chance to spawn Blight on our tree. And then we'll go in and we'll take this one step at a time. I have blue altars. I like blue altars way better. You get higher quant and rarity, which I seem to be doing, especially for gold. Our gold is dumped, so we're at 0. The step 1, the very first thing we want to do here, okay, is to clear your map completely. Like, completely ignore Blight. Just play the map like a normal map. It should go pretty fast. There's not a lot of mechanics and stuff that are going to spawn. The point of this is we want to get all of these Eldritch Altars and basically make sure we get as many as we can to juice up the Blight mechanic. My little trees over here getting owned by the guys. Basically anything that dupes div cards, dupes basic currency, dupes scarabs, and then any quant rarity type stuff on top of it. And then when you actually do the Blight encounter, these will all get added to all those monsters we kill. So if you get a bunch of like div card dupes or scarab dupes, currency dupes, quant, like it's just going to be a whole bunch more items that are added to the end, okay? Now, even if you don't do the Blight, okay, so here's a currency dupe one, which is super great. It's like 30%. Hopefully that'll definitely help at the end explosion. Some maps will be better than others. Some will drop a whole lot. Some will drop a whole crap ton. The normal monsters you kill, like, they're still a random, like, wisped map. The Blight Scarab obviously does nothing, but the treasure helps for any uniques. It's going to juice up the boss a little bit. Like, so just running the map without the Blight, like, you're going to get a pretty good amount of gold in this map, even without the Blight itself. It's very good on par. You'll get normal rewards, you'll get normal currency, normal maps, maybe a T17 or 2. If you get nothing, it doesn't really matter. Again, most of it comes from the Blight, but This one is some div cards. We got a couple defiled cathedrals here. We have a harvest that randomly spawns, so we'll go in and do the juice on that one real quick. I just want to showcase a full map. I don't want to cut it and just show the, you know, just to show the blight. I want to give an exact example of like what the map itself is going to look like. They see the boss has a couple extra rewards here. He's a little bit extra tanky. We already got T17 Abomination map, so that's great. So even without anything else, I'll show at the end before we even do the blight, but we're going to get some harvest juice, we're going to get some maps, we're going to have a decent amount of gold. Like, so even if you fail the map or do whatever, like you're still going to get the entire normal map's worth of loot, right? Like, I don't want to show the gold quite yet. I want to finish the map, but then that way you can see how much it increases. A couple scarabs, some life force, which is pretty nice. This one actually looks like it spawned four different plots too, which is pretty nice. Most of my mechanics are blocked, but there is like harvest, heist, ritual. There is a couple other ones that can spawn. Aberarch, yes. The scarabs for the map itself are pretty cheap. The Titanic and the Titanic of rewards or whatever it's called are not very expensive. The wisp ones are kind of going up in price a little bit now because there is other strats like involving them. They seem to be okay. So, but even then, I think there's still like 6 or 7 chaos per or something like that. So okay, so pretty fast, right? We'll do the reflective mist for the 1 in 1 million chance to get the actual itemized one that drops, which it did not. Int, mana, fire res. Now, if we got int and mana, it would probably be okay. We didn't, so it's pretty much completely garbage. And then we have Arcasia, okay? So we have the map complete. That was step 1. 7 monsters remaining, pretty good. Now, we already got almost 18,000. We usually average about 20,000. This was actually not a very good map for random monsters and spawns in here. We didn't get a whole lot of loot, but you can already see we got like 4 maps, 4 T16s. We got T17, which is pretty much a div straight up. We got a couple uniques, a few scarabs, some life force, so on and so forth, and about 18, and it's usually about 20k gold, okay? Just from this part. Just running the map. Don't even do the blight. You already you already made profit. You took care of, even without the T17, you still completely, you know, you were fine. Now we're going to launch up our blight. It's going to spawn a shitload of monsters. You want as many lanes as possible. That being said, the best one, there's one layout where it kind of ninja stars. There'll be one lane that comes out this way, there'll be one lane that comes out this way, one lane that comes out this way, one lane that comes out this way, and it doesn't spawn a lot of towers. That's the hardest one to do because there's so many juiced up monsters and you only have like 1 or 2 towers like per lane that you can build. The best one you want is where it all spawns in one direction and you have like 6 or 7 lanes and then you can kind of build at the choke points. That's what we're hoping for, okay? So after I pop this up, I will take a look. I'll start building. Your first objective, the first thing you want on this is to make sure you complete the blight, okay? So besides what you build, what you block, you want to make sure that you block the choke points properly, which doesn't take a lot. Like, we use very little resources now for building towers because of these 2 nodes down here that give 20% reduced cost. So if you get like a good lane and good setup and you have 5, 6, 7, 8 lanes, you can build a crap ton of towers. Like, it's fine. But you want to make sure early on that you block, because if you like forget to block the boss lane or something and you have 20 bosses that come walking into the thing, you're going to rip the blight and it's going to be a waste. Okay? So we're going to pop this. Hopefully it's a good one. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lanes. It spawned all. This is exactly what we want. So there's 2 so far down here. You have 10 seconds to build, 15 seconds, whatever. So they're going to spawn. There's probably a couple more portals that'll spawn here, a couple that spawn here, so on and so forth. I'm going to stun lock this one right here. Tier 3. I'm going to put a cold one right here. tier 3. And the next thing you want to watch, so there's 4 portals that spawn down here, which is great, which means this should stun all 4 of these. You want to watch and find out which lane is the one that is going to spawn all the bosses, because that is going to be the rippiest, crappiest. This is perfect. Now there's 5 portals down here. And I think this is going to be the boss one right here. Because I think it's the only one left. Yep, so that's the boss one, and there was 1 portal here, okay? So we want to make sure these are stunned and these are blocked. We'll do a sentinel, okay? So now we're pretty good. We have a pretty good setup. We have a pretty good layout. And now we want to make sure that we build as many random other towers as we can. So for this Blight one, I should have went into it in a little bit more detail. But you want to build as many tier 5 random towers as possible, okay? This, we're actually going to turn into that. That, we're going to turn into that one. Glacial. We will do a fire, lightning. And I'll get into this after I'm sure that we can't actually rip the map. Which I'm pretty sure we're going to be okay on. This, we will just do a random flame tower. Alright, now we should be pretty good. Now for this node, remember it said salvage rewards are improved for each different tower type built during encounter. So once I know that the Blight is locked down and we're good, I want to have like a tier 5 of each type, an ice of each type, a fire of each type, a minion of each type, and once I have all these crap ton of resources, I actually ran out of towers. I do have one down here. I'm gonna build a minion scout tower if she wants to come down. Just to make sure I have as many types as possible. This one I'm gonna turn into a stone gaze. And now we're out of towers. I actually can't build anymore. Sometimes you get a lot more towers than that. So I basically built as many like tier 4 towers as I could. So we have empower of each one. We have a sentinel tower, thunder, flame. I actually didn't build a meteor. One of these should have been a meteor tower. I messed up. Scout tower, sentinel tower. You want to build basically as many as possible, okay? And then you're going to see the explosion at the end, which is a decent amount. Nothing super crazy on this map at all. Definitely wished I would have got a few more lanes, a few more towers. This would, I say, would be about an average one. We're at 19k gold now, 19.9. Pick up all the gold in here. Now we're up to 33. It's a lot of gold that drops in the explosion. So now we're already up to 33k for a thing. And we haven't opened the chest yet, which is currency rewards. Pick up all the stuff. And then we got some scarabs, 3 chaos. Discernment is pretty good. A couple more scarabs. Now, my filter is pretty strict at this time. There's a lot of items that are turned off. I will actually hold in a second. Okay, before we open it. My thing is freezing. Hope it doesn't drop. Look at the massive amount of items that drop on the, like... Most of them are going to be off screen. It's going to freeze. Now imagine if, you know, the beginning of the league, you got your chance orbs turned on, your ult orbs turned on, your, you know, instilling orbs, and your normal oils, and all the other, like, it's a lot more loot. Mine's pretty strict at the moment, okay? Now, we have all these little tiny chests, which are basically all the towers that I built, okay? These are not, like, in godly end game, whatever, but it's going to be a bunch. You're going to get gold, you might get a couple currency items, and you're probably going to get, like, a couple uniques. That's pretty good. The more different type of towers you have, there's a total of, I want to say, 30 towers that you can get. So there's 6 types, right? You have your fire, your lightning, your cold. your stun, your empowering, and your minion. Okay? And each one of those, I'm pretty sure the tiers are so tier 1, 2, and 3 will take your chilling tower, for example. Okay? So tier 1, 2, and 3, it's all the same type. It's just chilling 1, chilling 2, chilling 3. It's still a chilling tower. Okay? But then when you upgrade it to tier 4, you have two options. One turns into the glacial cage. One turns into the one that shoots projectile. I don't even know what the hell it's called, to be perfectly honest. Freeze Bolt? I think it's Freeze Bolt Tower. So basically, each one of those 6 towers has 3 different types you can get. So I don't know why I said 30. So you can get a total of 18 different types of towers. The maximum amount of different ones you can get, the better your loot explosions at the end of this is going to be. This one's pretty good. It gave a decent amount of gold. A unique, if I hold Alt and there was no other items, you can see the other amount of smaller items that drop. Maybe I'll try it with this one. Okay. So see this tower right here? Watch the items that drop out of that. Now that is a lot of items. Most of it is just random rares and shit like that. But there's a lot of items that dropped from it, okay? Now we're at 33k gold, I believe. So let's get all of these. You can hear the uniques hitting the ground, even though they're off my filter. And then out of these, you have hordes, and I forgot what the other ones are called. I want to say bounties, like hordes and bounties. If they're tier 4 towers or not, because as per this node, higher tier towers grant better salvaged rewards. So you basically want as many tier 4 towers as you can, and then if you have spare towers after, you want to do just like a chilling, a fire, an empowering, so on and so forth. Definitely a lot of gold from these ones. Few currency items. As far as I know, these are like your basic generic chests. They can drop maps, they can drop currency, they can drop uniques, they can drop jewelry, whatever, essences. And now we're up to 43k gold. Okay, so we literally went from a little under 20k to like 33k to now 43k. So all that adds up. 43k gold for a map is pretty damn significant. You get a lot of gold doing this. And then we have our big chest at the end, which grows and explodes based on whatever. This, I actually feel like it could be slightly more rewarding, but I feel like half the rewards are that it spawns a whole bunch of more monsters, so the explosion at the end is bigger. This, literally, I popped and nothing even showed on my filter. Now it's hard to see because it's right where the middle explosion is, so that was super disappointing. And even though a lot of my currency items are turned off, yeah, I can't even see what dropped on that. There's just too many. Maybe fusings, like fusings, trans, scrolls, there's all kinds, it's all turned off. I only have, the better currency turned on. Chaos and nulls and kindlings, GCP, chisels. I do have ults turned on because they fluctuate in price so much, and that chest actually didn't drop me anything. Now, the best big explosion chest I've seen is the oil chest. It's a random chest, just like normal Blight. Essences are okay. You get a whole bunch of essences. Oils, drop a whole bunch of oils, and you get, a whole bunch of, higher tier oils, usually, too. I think that's the best that I've done so far. I've only ran maybe 20 maps of this so far, but it is incredibly fun if you can do it. That's basically the strat. You can try out a few for yourself. Again, it's some of the explosions are absolute insane profit. This one was actually kind of on the lower side. Sometimes I literally have to go back and empty my inventory 2 or 3 times. ID all my uniques, dump this all in here. The gold is good, the difficulty you have to be careful, and then obviously one more thing I want to warn you of at the end is if you get that ninja star layout, you have to be very careful, and you have to sit in the middle, and you have to make sure every lane is blocked as much as possible. You have to not worry about building different types of towers, and you have to try to just survive and kill all the monsters that come. But again, the investment is pretty low, so if you brick a map every once in a while, That's not really a huge problem. So I would definitely give it a try. You have to be strong, but it's super fun to actually do it, and it is an absolute crazy out there type strat. It's definitely different from just a normal farm pick up loot type of shit. Little bit brainy, little bit you have to think about things. You have to make sure the blight is handled before you build the towers, but give it a try. Let me know what you think. I've always been a super big blight enjoyer. Blight has definitely changed this league completely from how it used to be. There's no oil extractors. There's the blight map thing was changed. We don't even go that with this specific strat, but give it a try. Let me know what you think, and hope you enjoyed the video.